Shaperwave Dynamics integrates a powerful foil design tool. This tool makes it possible to create and understand the hydrodynamics of a foil, and to balance it according to a surface weight, a wave speed. It is a tool that is quite complex. We will approach it step by step, and see the different parts of the design of a foil. This tutorial is intended for initiated users, and having already followed the previous tutorials. So you know what a hydrodynamic scan is, you already know how to create a board. And you know how to make fins, with Shaperwave Dynamics. We see in the Fins tab, that there are tools like the Fin Outline Design tools, which are tools that we will find in the design of the foil. So it is very useful to have already followed the tutorials on the design of fins, with Shaperwave Dynamics. So here we will open to a surfboard project. Here we have the default short board. It is a board which already has its hydrodynamics scan. This allows us to start with an example without having to launch the scan of the board. So here we have a finished board, with its hydrodynamic scan, and we are going to adapt a foil to it. This board is not really suitable in terms of volume for foiling. But our objective here is to work only on the foil part, and see how we design one, from any board. So we're going to use this board here. But we could have used any other. So in the Ailerons tab, we have a tool dedicated to foils. On the left here we have a tab for fin sets, and another tab for foils, where we can now have access to a foil creation tool. We are going to use it to create a new foil. When we create a foil, the software offers us to activate the dynamic option. To activate the dynamic testing tools. Here, we will click No, and we will stay in the shape room, just to study the foil in its geometric configuration, without worrying for the moment about its hydrodynamic performance. So here, we have created a new foil. Its size, and its position, and its wingspan have been created by default, and do not correspond to the project we want. We could have selected an existing foil from the library, and dragged the foil into our project. But what interests us is to create a new foil, to see how to access the properties of the foil, and how to modify it. So here, we will work on the shape of the profile. We will see how to edit the shape of the profile, and the outline of the foil. A foil is made up of 4 half wings, a main wing with 2 symmetrical parts, and a stabilizer wing with 2 symmetrical parts. These 4 parts are found here in the fins. We can edit each of these parts, and modify the geometry of these half wings, as we do for the ailerons. We could, for example, select this half wing, and modify its distance from the tail. We thus modify its positioning. And here we can modify its depth. We will go for example to 500, and therefore we modify its altitude. I leave it at 700, so we can modify these parts there. Same thing for the rear. So we can select and modify different elements. You can also change the attitude of the aileron. So we can say that the stabilizer has a cant angle, more or less important. Well, we'll leave it at 90 degrees. And the same thing of course, for the main wing. We will stay at 90 degrees. We could also move the foil away from its central part. And even give it the toe angle, like this. I advise to stay with 0 toe angles, and to have 0 distance between the foils. It will be easier to create a complete foil. If we want to modify the shape of this wing, we will have access to the same tools as the ailerons. We select the wing part to modify. So here, we can choose the left part, or the right part. It will be the same, because when one part is modified, the other part is modified in a symmetrical way. The parts are linked to maintain the symmetry of the foil. Here we have an indication that shows us that the symmetry is okay. If we have a symmetry defect, we will have an alert here. It will then be necessary to repair the foil to restore its symmetry. So normally, there is no reason to arrive at asymmetrical parts. But if you have an asymmetrical part, all you have to do is delete the bad part and recreate an antagonist. So we are going to modify the structure of the wing. So we are going to edit it, either right-click Edit Static Fin, or select here at the bottom Edit Static Fin. It amounts to the same thing. This is the Edit Wings and Ailerons interface. For those who have followed the aileron tutorials. So here we opened the editing of the foil wing shape. I could therefore move and modify the contours of my fin. Modify its shape, with one end going backwards. So I will modify it here. I can do what I want. Do something like that. And we see the shape that is displayed in 3D on the modified part. When I click on Apply Close, it will apply the fin to the project. In the meantime, it is not applied, so we can still undo the changes and exit. Here I find myself in an unsymmetrical state. This is perfect for the example. I lost the symmetry of my foil. I have a red alert here. I no longer have a symmetrical foil. I delete this part of the foil, which is not symmetrical, and there, I will restore the symmetry by creating the antagonist. My foil has become symmetrical again. So I'll go back to editing, and actually what happened was when I was editing, I changed my selection and suddenly I lost the foil binding. So when you make an edit, you avoid changing the selection. We are modifying our wing. We are going to give it a bump here, for example. So there, I look at what it gave, but I do not come to modify my selections in my project. I stay in my foil edition. I apply and I close. The software automatically mirrors the other part of the foil. This makes a foil a little weird. So we saw how to edit the shape, the outline of the foil. Now we will see how to edit the profile of the foil. Here I click down, so we come back to our interface. Now we are going to modify the shape of the profiles. On this foil, I have a NACA 0006 profile. It is a symmetrical profile. I want a cambered profile. I therefore select in the profiles, a cambered profile. And if I take the 6406, which is very arched, you can see it clearly. At this stage, we have only selected from our list of available profiles, a cambered profile. We did not apply it to our wing. If I want to apply this profile to my edited here, I will have to click on Apply Profile. OK, there I applied. Here we see the small profiles inside the design that have all arched to represent the correct profile. I'll check here if I'm in the right direction. The camber of my foil, there, is not in the right direction. I arched it well, but upside down. The extrados, the curved part, must be on it. You have to put the camber in the right direction. So I'm going to reverse the camber here, don't forget to apply. And you can see the inversion. The camber of the foil is in the right direction. So apply and close to finish and validate my wing modification. And here so I modified the camber of my foil. So far we have modified our foil geometrically, but we have not yet seen what is happening at the hydrodynamic level. And lift and drag and performance. It will have to adapt its performance to a project. Adapting performance means choosing the right incidences, the right surfaces so that it flies at the right speed and at the right angles. This is the hydrodynamic part of the foil, will be discussed in the tutorial dealing with the hydrodynamic adjustment tools of the foil. When we want to approach the hydrodynamics of the foil, we will select in the Aileron tab the hydrodynamic tool of the foil. I will open it here. So there, we are forced to switch to dynamic mode, because we are going to calculate drag and lift forces. And we enter the dynamic part of the software. So there, it updates the data of the current foil. When I activate the dynamic mode for a foil, we come to calculate the performance of this foil there, that we enter into a database. And we will be able to access the performance of this foil, and manipulate the foil, and see what happens according to the settings applied to it. And there, we enter the foil adjustment interface, and there it deserves a tutorial. It will be the next tutorial, so adjustment and optimization of the foils. So it's over for this introduction to foil design with Shaperwave Dynamics.